everyone, and welcome to another episode of Survive the Wild. I thought I'd do a little video just on one particular tree because I thought it deserves its own little video. And the tree that I'm talking about is this one here that I'm stood next to, and it's a tree that you'll be familiar with if you've watched my other videos. It's the silver birch, and this is an excellent tree. I mean, it predominantly grows in the northern half of the world, particularly more in uplands, but it will grow in the lowlands as well. It grows very well, very prolific grower. So why have I decided to do one little episode devoted just to one tree? Well, to me, this tree is like the tree that keeps on giving. You'll have seen, that we use this tree in, I'll take the bark, or we can take the bark from it, and we can use it for fire lighting, because birch contains oils. It's excellent for fire lighting. All we have to do is, we get us with a ferrocerium rod, or fire steel, and with the dry bark, even if it's ever so slightly damp, it will still light this stuff because of the oils that's in it. It's very flammable. So we just take our ferro rod and we just drop a few sparks in there, and we'll get a good flame going where we can build a fire. So that's like its first use that we'll have seen, or you'll have seen me use it, and other bushcrafters like Ray Mears and so forth. But yeah, it's quite easily identified. I mean, this has got like a lichen and moss growing over it, so it's a bit dull. The specimen behind me there, it's got a very white bark to it, so that's one of the easy ways of identifying this tree. And the other one is the leaf. It's sort of a bit of a spade shape. So if you imagine the suit of spades in a pack of cards, then it has that leafy shape to it, and it's got a very sort of like serrated edge. So that's like another key to identifying it, but it is a very easy tree to identify. The other thing with this is in sort of like the early spring, so around about March time, I'll do this when it comes to around March, is you can tap the sap from this tree, and you can get a drinkable water liquid from it. You can only really do it in March when the sap is rising very quickly, and there's a certain technique to it, because if you don't do it right, you can kill the tree. But if you do it in the right way and in a responsible way, you won't particularly harm the tree. There's supposed to be very good health benefits from drinking the sap itself. I've heard one that it's very much supposedly an anti-cancer compound in there, which I think is being studied at the moment, and it could be a possible cure for cancer. But like I said, that's one thing that you would do mainly. You've only got maybe a couple of weeks, sort of like through March, where you can do that. So that's like the second benefit. The other one is the wood itself. It's a fairly soft wood. Yeah, it's very good for carving with. So you can make spoons. You can make all sorts of sort of like utensils with it. You can just use it for general carving, ornaments and the like. But in terms of as a fuel, like I said, the bark we can use. The wood burns because it's a soft wood. It's not a great wood for producing long-lasting hot coals, because it does burn very quickly. But because it burns quickly, it burns very hot. So if you're wanting a hot fire, silver birch is a good tree for that. So if you're wanting to get a hot fire going quickly, where you need to get warm, particularly if it's winter and you're out, or you're stuck out, you're stranded and you're wet and you need to dry clothes off and stuff, that this is a good wood. I would mix it with other woods, things like oak, that are more dense, that's going to produce a longer lasting hot bed of coals that would, would see you through a night. So, but yeah, I mean, through its life cycle, it's, there's many uses. I mean, it's been used for brooms and all sorts. Usually, you'd use the brooms with the thinner twigs, and you bundle them up and turn them into a Beslan broom. As it gets older and it gets a bit more diseased, or if it does get injured or it gets diseased anyway, there's a fungus that grows on this, and you only really find this fungus on this tree, and it's called Birch Polypore. Now, Birch Polypore has it's a unique fungus to the silver birch. Like I said, it will grow, I think, occasionally on others, but predominantly you'll find it only on silver birch, and it's pretty easy to identify. To start with, you'll see like a little bulb erupting through the bark, that'll get bigger, and then eventually you'll get a much larger mushroom, which I'll show you in a second. And that mushroom itself has quite a few amazing sort of qualities. So I'll just go off and I'll just go and find another specimen. So anyway, here we have, this is a far more mature specimen of the Birch Polypore. This is an ideal sort of size. Like I said, it only really grows on silver birch, and it usually you'll sometimes find it on a living tree, but if it's on a living tree, there's probably been something wrong with it and it's dying anyway. And this is on this larger stump here that is attached to the living tree, and this section is all dead. Now I'm just gonna break this off, and I'll okay, so we're taking that piece over. I thought I'd come over here because it was a little bit awkward standing there. So yeah, the Birch Polypore. It's on the outer side, on the top, where it'd sort of like be like that on the tree. You've got like this, almost like a hazily brown colour, and then on the underside it's like pure white. And the smell is, if you imagine mushrooms that you would buy in like a supermarket or grocery store, it's got that very much like a field mushroom. They're the majority of mushrooms that we tend to buy, field mushrooms and button mushrooms, which is basically the same thing. It's just that they pick them a bit early. So yeah, very much a mushroomy, that earthy sort of smell to it. Now, this isn't a particularly edible mushroom, or it's not classified as an edible mushroom, but it doesn't mean that it doesn't have its uses. In terms of taste, it's a very bitter taste to this. You wouldn't eat it. It's very, very rubbery, so that's why they sort of don't class it as an edible. So, but it, like I say, it has its uses. Those uses are that, and we're only just really rediscovering these uses. I can't remember his name, what they named it, but the Iceman that they found frozen in the Alps from, I think it was about 6,000 years ago, had some of this around his neck with a piece of leather, and they're believing was that the reason why he had this was that he had intestinal parasites. Now, you can brew this up as a tea, and it's the list of things that this is supposed to be good for is, one, it's an anti-parasitic. It's also been, they're looking at it in terms of malaria. This could be an anti-malarial, although it doesn't particularly grow in climates where where malaria is prevalent. So, but it's something that could be transported. The other things is that it is antiseptic. There's certain suggestions saying at the moment that it is antiviral, so it would be good for the flu. It is, like I say, antiparasitic, antiviral, antibacterial, and one of the exciting ones is it's supposed to be anti-cancerous, and they have done some tests and shown that people who drink this as a tea over a period of time, it has shown that the growth of the tumours or cancer cells slows down and then starts declining. So whether there's the acid compounds that are in this attach themselves to the cancerous cells or the cells in your body that aren't behaving properly and start breaking them down, is still undergoing, but you know, there's a lot of things that suggest at the moment that this is like a bit of a miracle mushroom, or I like to call it, this is the real magic mushroom. In the field it has another use as well. We can use this as a plaster, and I'll just get my knife. Ugh. Really would have been a good idea if I had it on me. And get the sheath in the pocket. Yeah, the underside of this, it depends on how old this is and how thick this layer is, but if you've got a cut, like say, it's an antiseptic, it's a natural antiseptic, and that has been proven, is if you get your knife, like say you've got a cut on your finger. I had one there on the end of my finger the other day. I was at home actually, and all you need to do is just score the underside, and you can cut these to measure really, and then just, you know, make a like to the sort of like size and shape that you want. So let's say I want, you know, I want to wrap it round my finger there. There we go, underneath. And then if I just cut that bit off there just to make it a bit easier. Sometimes it takes a bit of prizing. Like I said, depends on the age of the mushroom itself, but you just notice that just peels off in a nice sheet. Now, the reason why this is really good as a plaster is, on the underside it's quite sticky. So say I'm wanting to put it over that cut there, I'll wrap it round. It's, you know, it's sticking quite well. Give it a squeeze down. You can feel it's, you know, that's bound to itself. Now that is a good plaster. Like I say, antiseptic. That feels quite cool as well, nice and cool on the finger, and that's going to stop any other like bacteria getting in there, any dirt. I mean, it will come, you know, I can peel it off. It's not as good as, you know, it's not going to be as sticky as the plasters that you're going to get out and about, you know, in the shop or something like that, the fabric ones, which I tend to carry with me. But in terms of healing, this is going to be a lot better. And you know, I mean, from that one mushroom there, I could get another one that size, maybe two on there. But yeah, the other thing is, I mean, what I've started trying to use this for is, I've been using this as a as a tonic. So I found one a few weeks ago, and what you do is you would cut off about 10 grams and boil, well, not so much boil, but simmer it for a good about 3/4 of an hour, and then put that in a mug. I would personally add a bit of sugar to it, at least 2 sugars, maybe 3 depending. That's come off a little bit. on, you know, how sweet you like things. It is a very, very bitter taste, but it is very good as an immune booster. Great, some dogs barking off in the background. But yeah, yeah, as an immune booster. So I'm going to see if this is going to hold off maybe me getting the flu this year, because when a few years ago there was the swine flu epidemic that was going around, I contracted the swine flu. It floored me for about 2 weeks. I had a terrible, really, really bad chest infection. It really knocked my respiratory system off really badly. In fact, when I ended up going to the hospital, and the doctors, they put the little sensor on the end of your finger to see what your blood sats were. Mine were about 78, and the doctor was actually a little bit amazed that I'd managed to walk a mile to the hospital and still be conscious. But ever since then, every year I've had the flu. So I'm going to keep having 2 mugs of this a week, and I'm going to see whether I get the flu this year or not. It'd be very, very interesting to find out. So the rest of this piece is going to come home with me, and if I find another piece I might take that home, and that should probably see me through the winter. But yeah, I mean, this, like I said, pretty much only grows on the silver birch tree. There's loads of silver birch trees here. I mean, I'm just looking up this hill and I can probably see about 200-300, and quite a lot of the bits where there's the dead on there, there's these are popping up all over the place at this time of year. It's brilliant. I think this year might be a really good year for mushrooms, so I'm going to do another video on mushrooms, edible mushrooms that are worth picking and gathering. So but yeah, the silver birch tree, it's the tree that just keeps giving. Like I say, gives us wood for carving with, it gives us really good tinder for starting fires with, it gives us these lovely mushrooms, it gives us fuel for burning, and the sap in the spring. So yeah, I just thought it'd be worth, just giving a little bit of a mention to this one particular tree. And I love oak trees. I mean, there's a lovely specimen of oak tree here, which you get acorns off, and the wood's a very good strong wood for things like furniture and stuff. But I just really thought the silver birch tree deserves its own little mention. So anyway, I hope you enjoy this. I mean, a lot of it's just been me sort of like ranting a little bit, but I hope you've learned something. And yeah, get yourself out there, find a few of these. Even if, I mean, this grows so prolifically, probably nearly 10% of the country could go out there and take one or two. There's absolutely loads of it. It's one of the most common mushrooms in the wild, particularly in the northern hemisphere, in the uplands. So yeah, so thanks for watching. If you haven't subscribed already, subscribe. There's loads more videos on the channel, and there's loads more videos to come. We're now getting into autumn, so camping out is going to be, it's going to change from the summer where I've been camping out. And yeah, and I'll keep an eye out for my second coastal video, camp out, which is coming up in 2-3 weeks time, and that's going to be a really interesting vid. So yeah, anyway, see you later, have a good day.